Hello, everyone, and welcome to the UX Lounge brought to you by students from the University of Toronto's Faculty of Information. On the student side, we have Ritika, Sharma, and myself, Roshni, Thawani, here today.
In hopes of taking our learnings outside of the classroom, we connect with industry professionals to learn about their day-to-day roles as well as their life reflections that may help our student community achieve their UX career goals.
We thank our guests for generously volunteering their time. And here at the UX Lounge, we look to learn about our guests' journeys through UX and their experiences in the industry compared to academia. Let's welcome Yao Andantor, who is a UX researcher at Bolt and the founder of Research Bookmark, the world's largest search engine for product teams. He's also an adjunct professor.
Yao is an experienced UX researcher who continues to be driven by a passion for helping organizations create products and services that deliver best-in-class user experiences. And in the past, Yao has also assumed UX roles in numerous sectors such as consulting and financial services. And our team is excited to learn from Yao's journey in UX and looking forward to get started. Could we start off with a super easy question? Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you said most of it already. My name is Yao Denter. I'm a UX researcher at a company called Bold. Also, the founder of Research Bookmark. We'll speak about a bit today. My UX journey started around 7, 8 years ago. Discovered UX through building some applications, and then from there, my background was already in psychology. From there, I got in through product design, attended my master's and did my master's in UX, and through that, got my first job as a consultant, and went from there into federal work as a UX researcher, and now in the private sector for e-commerce. So I've done a bit of everything in UX design and UX research at the beginning, and now more focused on UX research.
Wow, that's quite a journey. Would you mind telling us a little bit about Research Bookmark?
Yeah, absolutely. Research Bookmark it's a place where you can find all types of knowledge on research, product design, um, even things like project managing, front end design, how things connect in a product world, right? We our goal is really using through research to building a good user experience research platform. Um, End up building a knowledge base for all product teams. So yeah, it's exciting. Right now we do a lot of qualitative search. So if you go on Research Bookmark and you're looking for something around research, you'll bring things more qualitatively than your traditional search. So you can search for anything and find more. So yeah.
Awesome. That's so exciting. We also wanted to know what inspired you to start working at Research Bookmark.
Oh yeah, Research Bookmark was the combination of finding Notion as a tool. I didn't know before I knew I found Notion. I didn't know there was Notion, right? So when I found Notion, I was like, this is so useful. You can do a lot of things with it. Around the time, I was also helping out with, I think UXPA does mentorship thing, and a lot of my conversation with the mentees revolved around like sharing resources. And I realized everything was kind of locked up in my bookmarks and finding things again that I already have and so forth. No, here's a good way to organize it. Notion was a good way to organize resources under different categories. That was really it. It was to help myself and discover I can make my work more efficient through this as well. So yeah.
And what would you say are some highlights and challenges of being an entrepreneur in the space?
Um, I don't know if you're an entrepreneur if you haven't if you if you haven't reached a level. I mean, I'll say we're more creatives, and I think that the challenge is well, you don't know what you don't know when you're trying to build a product or a business, in the tech lane space, right? So you're learning as you go, what's good, what do users want, how would you perhaps monetize this idea, how can people benefit from it, right? So I think
Mhm.
those questions are more challenging operationally. I mean, if you're building something, you need developers and you need designers and so forth. So you're gonna have to do operationally gather those people and create something around that, right? How do you work? How do you actually get stuff online for users to make their day-to-day easier? There's a lot of code in that as well. So we're on that battle, and then you have the experience front where you're trying to ask what's worth it, what works, and so forth. So yeah.
I kind of love how you phrase that, because when you think about UX research, it's such a collaborative role, right? You're working with your stakeholders, your product managers, your designers, your design managers, and all those folks. And then when you're an entrepreneur, you're still kind of doing the people management. So I can see a lot of parallels between becoming an entrepreneur and a UX researcher.
Yeah.
I'm curious what kind of inspired your work in UX research. When I know you told us a little bit about how you ended up in the field, what are some
Yeah.
like inspiring movements that led to UX research?
I'm not sure there. Well, I think first there's a curiosity to talk to people, right, and to find out
Mhm.
things. Um, so I think that's probably the basis for me, right? I'm actually interested in what I find and what I'm working on, when I'm conducting research. So I enjoyed that part. So that's already inspiring, being able to meet different people, work on different things. Um, and then when you see product that are like useful or like actually maybe giving back to the community in some ways, that's also that also inspires you to do more, I'll say. Beside that, there's so many influences. If you have mentors, you understand that they influenced a lot of the way you think. So they influence the product and your learning and so forth, right? So yeah.
And in that kind of inspiring lens, you can look at UX with the rose tinted glasses, because I definitely did when I was going into the field. I'm like, this is so awesome. I can't wait to join. There's so much going on in this field. But then can you highlight some of the challenges you may have faced in the field as a UX researcher? Like, what's the other side of it?
Yeah, there are a lot of challenges. First, the adoption of UX research itself it's a challenge, right? Are there enough opportunities being created for UX researchers for you to become a UX researcher? Which
Mhm.
is just maybe the more operational math, right? And how are these opportunities created? That means we're more companies are understanding how UX research is utilized, right? And they want to hire more or do more UX research work. So I think that's one of the main drivers, right? And then from there, challenges in being in everything, learning something new, right? What's the right information, right? How do I build my portfolio? Like, what projects do I do? It seems like no matter when you're studying something new, no matter how much information there is, always trying to find clarity. Even because UX has a lot of information, right? Like, what is UX research and methods and definitions? Um, but then you still gotta apply them and understand the use case or the context, which is harder, if you haven't worked. So those are some of the challenges for me that I can think of.
Okay. And then like, I love that you're going to like the heart of those challenges that you face, because I think our listeners are getting a real insider scoop into what it means to be a UX researcher behind the scenes. um, but can you tell me a little bit about the flip side of that? How do you overcome those challenges, or what principles do you apply to overcome them?
Yeah. One is staying passionate about what drove you to UX, right? Um, if it is talking to people, building stuff right, like serving users with, I mean, you have to, that's like an anchor. So if you have a good anchor, that's going to help you kind of, because these ups and downs and careers and such that we've mentioned, the challenges they will keep coming. It's just also the way you you adapt to them and change, and what you know. So one is the passion that brought you into UX research or UX design or product design, and then from there, being open to learn new things and adapt.
Sure.
That's how you utilize most of your skill set, and that's how you can also keep up most of your skill set.
When I hear adaptability, I just think back to the context of COVID-19, having to adapt to remote work from home, having to adapt so much over the last 2 years.
Yeah.
This makes a really nice segue into challenges surrounding office politics and strategies to navigate them. How do you adapt to entering a political environment in your office space?
I think first, yeah, because sometimes some
I-
workplaces you're not kind of aware of that going on, right?
Mhm,
And let's talk about it in a positive light. What you're really saying is, how do you manage maybe relationship building?
mhm. That's true. That's
um,
true.
yeah, which is essentially what we're talking about, relationship building. Then I think being honest with people is great. I work in a great work environment where, like, our leader on a product team, kind of allows you to kind of what is going on, how I can make it better, what's in your way, and so forth. And everyone kind of is kind of very respectful of each other's opinion and stuff. So
Mhm,
I work in a pretty good environment, and I think that matters a lot. In what you're talking about is people are more approachable. But to do that, I think approaching people with like um, an honest approach of how you see things is always good. It builds good foundations and it builds trust between you and your colleagues. And then from
mhm.
there, you can get more feedback and ask more questions, and just build like a healthy work relationship that's beneficial for everyone, right? So yeah.
Gotcha. So it's more about um, shedding positivity into building that relationship and valuing others' opinions is what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Even if you have you're fortunate and lucky to end up in an environment that everyone respects and values each other's opinions. But I know throughout your journey, you've worked in a wide range of sectors from financial services, consulting, freelance. I know you're an adjunct professor as well. So for who are kind of unsure where they want to explore UX in and how they want to pivot their career, what advice do you have to share with our audience when it comes to those different sectors and different experiences you can have when it comes to UX?
So, one, we can talk about how the different being in different fields can affect yours and maybe your choice of.
Mhm,
So there are fields that in which you use other methods, or quantitative and qualitative. So kind of looking at your choices and how things change from industry to industry. That's one thing I'll mention is maybe the work that you do most of the time will be a little
mhm,
different, right? And then there are all of those pockets of opportunities where you can kind of get better, learn new methods, and so forth. But I think the one thing that influences is like industry influences a lot. And whether you are in a private or public sector, right? You're building where users are, you have to kind of go get users and NDAs and stuff like that, or you're working um, in a different setting where users are per law will have to give you maybe information or so forth. So different skill sets require and so forth in those different all those different places. Um, yeah, I think you added something else to the question that I'm forgetting.
It was more about if you're unsure about which sector you want to explore. So from what I'm hearing from you is that there's different benefits and there's different cons to different sectors, and depending on the methods you want to explore, depending on how in depth you want to go, if you have to recruit your users, that can vary industry to industry.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That was
Gotcha.
that was very industry to industry, which is good, because it seems like a lot of US researcher, myself included, came from like other disciplines. So there are some
Mhm.
things that usually the things we do first are the things you're usually really passionate in, especially when with a degree like psych, you're passionate about talking about to people and about people and stuff like that. So you try to leverage your skills back up again.
Just kind of segueing into like those different industries, because you have a wealth of experience. And since our audience is a lot of students who are transitioning from academia to industry, if they're in that process of applying for their first job, whether it be UX design or research, what would you say to them?
Probably the first job is the same in any industry and any kind of work. I mean, I wasn't always a UX designer. I was a teacher and and worked in HR and stuff before this. So um, it's like anything, right? It's a confusing process because it's something you haven't done before, right? No matter what you hear and what people talk about, you haven't been in a position before, and no one has been in that context. Every new job or position that opens is uniquely it because the environment is different for everyone, So um, I think first things first is kind of center around those things and skills that you have that you want to do more of. Um, you want to do more of maybe talking to people and stuff like that, and start finding companies and places that are kind of talking about those things, right? Once you say, hey, I want to try UX research out, interviewing is a thing that, maybe something that stands out to you, right? And that leads you into qualitative research. So now you start learning the skills around getting to an interview, maybe a little survey, right? Maybe a workshop before. So take it from I would say simplify how you come in. That would give you as companies and then to be able to display your skills appropriately. So I'll look at that and then practicing a bunch. UX, for me, UX or UX research, we're just practicing, right? Like there are people that need the service that are building maybe small companies or small projects, and you just like you could conduct real research and you build it up. You just see how it is, right? I think there's something to be said about that. Um, Trying stuff out while in the process because it's going to make your interviewing better. It's going to widen your vocabulary.
I love how you said getting out there and getting that experience and like getting into the lingo and learning the vocabulary, because I can definitely remember the earlier days of trying to figure out what is waterfall processes, what is agile, what is all these things. And then a
Yeah.
year in, as you get those skills, as you start doing LinkedIn learning courses, as you kind of just build up that lingo, it really shows in the conversations and the confidence you have bringing to the table. So thank you for sharing that. Now there's another question. So say you get the job, you're a UX researcher. Now it's your first time to negotiate your salary. How do you talk to people about that? Like, how do you talk to your hiring manager? How do you kind of share the resources and experience that you bring forward to highlight that, to negotiate fair compensation?
Yeah, I think one thing I always do is I try to get at some point after the first or second conversation, I try to get the range. And this is where things get a little interesting because sometimes I think recruiters or whoever are out give you like a different range or like maybe trying to like a more like a salesy range. But I think the most important thing to not get kind of fumbled up in all of that is to do your research and understand what people are paying your peers. This is why it's good to just be in communities like the knowledge research bookmark knowledge community, right? Um, Use a platform, use a social results. You can filter by social results on our site, so you see who's saying what, who's an expert in what, right? That allows you to build and understand community, and as you do that, you can start asking people, hey, what did you make? I think you're in my area. I'm about to get a job in this. The UX research community or US community in general is very friendly. Hey, what did you make? What should I be asking for, right? So on top of your research and the tools that they use, find out. You can ask a very good question to ask your recruiter is, what systems are they using to do their payment bandwidths or bands or whatever they call them, right? And sometimes they're this public that you can go to. So you'll see what it says there as well, right? The person doing this area is getting this, right? And then if there's an upsell there for you as far as this other thing, this other skill, special skills and so forth, you can bring that up. But I think it's just about finding fair value for yourself, right? Are you going to take this salary and be angry on a daily about what you're getting paid so you can get the work done? Or taking something that if you later hear, oh man, I should ask for more, all of a sudden your hands are not bricks, right? You're not like, oh, I'm so disappointed now. So when it comes to salary and money, you need to think about both, right? The value that you want that will keep you going, whether you'll reach that goal, right? But wherever they land you is not somewhere where you don't want to be at all. That's not going to motivate you to work.
Gotcha. So it's like, from what I'm hearing, is kind of like play the waters. Like, what are they saying? What are you hearing? What's the research you can do on your own based on the questions you're
Yeah.
asking?
So
And
three
go
hard,
in there like strategically. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Like three hard things. Know the Glassdoor. Use whatever systems are out here.
Mhm.
Get at least 4 or 5. Add them up
Mhm.
and divide them. That gives you a solid. Just like, hey, I looked at this 4 major. This is the more operational side of things. That's how you go into this battle. I looked at the 4 major things. This is what they're paying in my area. Add them up. You have your math, and then if you can ask your peers, it bolster up that numbers. Oh, I'm way off, or I'm very close. So it gives you
Mhm.
a range, right? Because no one knows exactly. You know, product companies also want to make money, and if they paid everyone what they wanted, I don't think anyone will have profit. So it's again lending fairly, right? Lending fairly. So do your homework, try to get to your peers, read blogs or Reddits, do your homework, and then just find a good middle for that number. It's like, okay, I'm good here, right?
Spoken like a true businessman. Finding what you want as your user, and then also finding what the audience wants, and like trying to find that happy medium.
Yeah, you have to try to. Yeah,
And
because you start
yeah.
underpaid and then it grows. Just be okay with that, right? Like you coming in with a,
Mhm.
a PhD or a master's in or undergrad, you're gonna be underpaid and then learn fast and be paid well. I think that's usually what happens in UX.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And like I know you mentioned in that conversation the tools and asking about the resources to the recruiter. So when you're speaking of learning fast, what are they? What are early professionals learning? What are the tools and resources that they should check out?
Oh yeah. So young professionals getting to UX design, UX research, definitely use Research Bookmark. It's built literally for that. So saving you, I think the average researcher spends 45% of their time researching, kind of searching through something, whether it's there in like a Slack or the internet mostly, right? Finding out new information, enlightening themselves. We want to make that time as useful as possible, maybe reduce it if necessary, because going on journeys of learning is also good, and searching, because you find out new information, you become more wholesome in a way with the information you find. So first things first, use Research Bookmark. Bookmark is somewhere, and utilize it to get more vocabulary, more lingo, understanding context as well. The other thing is just reading helps a lot as well. I'm sure everyone has read The Design of Everyday Things. If you are like coming into UX research, and it's a good way to say you're designing things that matter in some way, shape, or form, right? And it's good to kind of your brain starts warming up to the concept of all of this, right? Conducting research and understanding why. Um, and then from there, I'll say doing some kind of committed study, like a workshop, a webinar. You should be doing, if you can get into those webinars that have general subjects, sometimes like we do, it's really great because you just get a bunch of good information all at once, new resources, make new friends, and you can be wherever you are in the world. So start attending those and maybe find like a 10-week course, 6-week course, something of this sort. I know there's a bunch around. We offer a mentorship, a 6-week mentorship as well. Um, that would just get you with one really good professional from a top level company, a true, and the way we build ours, and I know there are some others out there like this as well, is mentor, mentees, more natural, a closer, more natural learning environment, right? Where they're like going through like what it is like to be in an interview, right? This person has hired a bunch of people and they're talking to you about how they perceive things and industry and knowledge. So find something like that. And then I think that at that point, if you really want to go into this UX researching, right, then you start kind of getting yourself out there, working on some projects, some pro bono, whatever it is, while making, this is a whole journey I'm giving you here, while making
Love
decisions as
it.
if you're going to go to school, right, if you're going to get like a higher degree in this, if it's needed at all, or you are able to get yourself in a position where you're practicing and then building experience. Yeah.
No, that was so much, I think, in-depth knowledge that our listeners need. Like even the mentorship and mentee, I know how that relationship can really propel you forward with the insights that you may not get just reading Medium articles or reading Design of Everyday Things. Like those cruxes of golden nuggets you hear
Yeah,
from someone who's been on the other side of the interview table. I know.
exactly. Exactly.
Um, so that kind of brings us to the end of our formal question round. We are going on to this rapid fire round because the conversation has been so awesome. We need your last little tidbits of advice and wisdom.
Yeah.
Our team has learned so much from you today, Yao, and just wanted to thank you so much for your time. As we transition to these one word or one sentence answers, I just kind of ask, do you feel like you're ready for this? Are you ready for this time around?
Just ready for this. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. All right.
Okay, well, time to dive into the jump into the deep end, as they say, and then learn how to swim.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, so what excites you the most during your day-to-day work as the founder of Research Bookmark?
The fact that we're building something that's educating a new generation of like product designers or product researchers.
And I hope that for our listeners, I'm going to interject, but please check out Research Bookmark. This is such an upcoming platform, and I really feel like I'm going to benefit from it. I'm going to Google everything out of it as soon as this call ends. So thanks so much for sharing all those tidbits about what you have to offer our field.
Yeah.
Um, the next question is, what is one really bad piece of advice?
Don't do it for free.
Okay, make sure you get paid. That's good to know.
No, 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 no. One really bad advice is someone telling you don't do it for free.
Oh, okay. So
So yeah,
you
I'm
should
not
get the
saying
experience.
yeah, I'm not saying yeah, you should get something out of it, right? Like
All right.
money is not the only value to value your time, especially when you're learning. So
Mm-hmm.
don't like if it's free, there's something in there for you, learning, portfolio
Mm-hmm.
piece, right? Do it. Get the
Gotcha.
value out. Yeah.
Gotcha. And then I guess that means like making sure you know the line between doing
Um,
it for too long and knowing when to move
yeah,
on.
exactly.
Gotcha. And then what are some words of wisdom from a mentor or someone else that's always stayed with you?
Oh, man, a lot of things. But I would say I have really good mentors. One from like when I went through my master's program, and then one from like my first UX job. So, and they were both. I mean, one talks a lot about like creativity and how to use creativity as like a constant pillar of like building and moving forward, like always the next step. And one is just encourages me in every other way. So uh, one group piece of advice is find yourself a mentor if possible, um, you know, and keep going, right? Keep going and improving. Yeah.
I love that. Like just find someone who can kind of be your cheerleader on the sidelines and support you as you grow in your career. And what's the most important thing for a successful career in UX research, since you are a veteran in the field now, having taught, having started Research Bookmark, and also working as a UX researcher?
Man, it's really a combination of things, but if it has to be one thing, it wouldn't even be a UX specific skill. It would be like grit, or like lack of better words, passion. But you just, it would be like a more wholesome thing, right? Because UX, like every other new thing you learn or trying to get into, if a lot of people that listen to this podcast are getting or looking to get into UX, yeah, I mean, there's definitely a hurdle of that you find in anything, by kind of staying with it and doing more UX work, getting yourself into community learning, it all pays off. Yeah.
So just get your feet wet, get in there and learn as much as you can. I
Yes.
love that.
Yes.
And what's next for you? What's the next chapter? Do you have any upcoming projects you want to share?
Yeah. We will be doing our next knowledge series webinars that we put on every month. We'll do one on the 28th.
Of August?
The 28th of September.
Of September. Okay, gotcha.
28th of September. And that's going to be focused on UX vocabulary, which is very important.
Okay.
So the top 100 words used in UX research, just vocabulary, because it builds up more confidence, more conversation. When you're talking to people, you look up better things, and it's a boost, right? But you can't know every word or everything, but knowing what things are can definitely help you communicate. So we're doing a whole webinar on vocabulary, and speakers from top companies are coming, and we're going to discuss what things are called and why they're called this way, right? To write a better portfolio, right? Better use cases and anything else. So that's upcoming for us. And then our UX Research Bookmark platform, um, building some new things there, right? Adding the helpful features our users want to see, to continue finding great answers in there and using it to help their journey, their search journeys, and so forth. So yeah.
Awesome. I'm definitely going to come to that session, and I'm echoing to our listeners, please go to that session. I think the lingo is something you're always going to hear, but you're not necessarily going to know what it means until you get into these communities. So thanks so much for sharing that open invitation.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for joining us at the UX Lounge today. We'd like to thank you so much for sharing this last bit of wisdom in this rapid fire round. That brings us to the end of today's episode. If you're looking to learn more, follow us on our social media handles. And until next time, from your favorite UX crew, my name is Roshni, and unfortunately, our fellow team members could not join for the end part thanks to some technical difficulties, but thank you so much, Yao, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Absolutely. Have a great day. Thank you.